My name is Gabriel Montgomery, and at 67 years old, I never imagined my own flesh and blood would betray me like this. I still remember that Sunday as if it were yesterday, though 3 months have passed since then. I was in my study, reviewing some documents for the small bookstore I opened after retiring as a university professor. After my wife Amelia passed away 5 years ago, the bookstore became my refuge, my reason for moving forward. It was a modest business, but it gave me enough to live with dignity, along with the pension I received from my 30 years of teaching. Before I continue, please give this video a like, subscribe, and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I'd love to hear from you. The doorbell rang twice in quick succession, the way my son, Daniel, always did. I adjusted my glasses and stood up with that slowness the years impose on you without asking permission. "Dad, what took you so long?" Daniel blew in like a hurricane, not even giving me time to say hello. My son, impatient as ever. He was tall with salt and pepper hair, though he was only 42, and wore a suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. "Sorry, son, I was in the study." I offered him a hug, which he returned half-heartedly with a few quick pats on my back. "I need to talk to you about something important." His tone was serious, almost corporate. He walked straight into the living room without waiting for an invitation. I followed him as he pulled some documents from his briefcase. He sat on the sofa that had belonged to his mother and spread several papers on the coffee table. "Dad, I've been thinking a lot about your situation. You live alone in this big house, and the bookstore takes up time you should be using to rest." He paused, gesturing to the empty space beside him. I sat down and looked at the papers. They were legal documents with notary seals. "What's all this, Dan?" "It's simple." He pulled a pen from his pocket. "It's a power of attorney so I can manage your assets. It's for your own good, Dad. At your age, you shouldn't have to worry about these things." I adjusted my glasses and began to read. I hadn't been a literature professor for 3 decades for nothing. I knew how to read between the lines in books and in documents. This isn't just a power of attorney, Daniel. This would be signing over the deed to the house and the bookstore to your name. His expression shifted slightly, an almost imperceptible twitch at the corner of his mouth. "It's just for security, Dad. If anything happens to you, everything will be protected." "Protected from what? Or from whom?" Daniel sighed impatiently. "From taxes? From unnecessary paperwork. It's what's best for everyone." "For everyone or for you?" I placed the papers back on the table. "I'm not signing this, son." He shot to his feet. "Always so stubborn. Can't you see I'm just trying to help you? If you want to help me, visit more often. Bring Isabel. I haven't seen my granddaughter in months. Izzy's busy with school, and I'm busy with work." He gathered the documents with sharp, angry movements. "Think about it, Dad. I'm not asking for anything extraordinary." "I'll think about it," I lied, just to calm the waters. "Why don't you stay for lunch? I can whip something up." His face softened slightly. "I can't today, but there was something else I wanted to tell you. We're having a family get-together next Sunday. It's Jessica's birthday. We want you to come." It was strange. They hadn't invited me to a family gathering in over a year, not since Jessica, my daughter-in-law, had started treating me with that cold politeness that barely hid her disdain. "Of course, I'll be there," I smiled, genuinely happy about the invitation. "Good, we'll expect you at 1. He headed for the door. "And bring the signed papers, Dad. It'll be a good gift for everyone." When he left, I stared at the closed door. Something wasn't right. My gut instinct, the one that stays with you your whole life and only sharpens with age, was telling me to be careful. The following Sunday, I arrived promptly at Daniel and Jessica's house, a lavish home in one of the city's most exclusive gated communities. I always wondered how they could afford such luxury on Daniel's manager salary, but I never wanted to meddle in their finances. I rang the bell, holding a small gift for Jessica. It was a special edition of 100 Years of Solitude that I'd acquired for the bookstore, but decided to give to her, even though I knew it would probably just end up as a decoration on a shelf. The door opened, and there she was, Jessica Arellano, with her perfectly highlighted blonde hair, her calculating smile, in a dress that surely cost more than all the furniture in my living room. Mr. Montgomery, what a surprise you could make it. Her falsely cheerful tone made my skin crawl. Happy birthday, Jessica. I handed her the gift. Daniel invited me. I hope I'm not intruding. Not at all. Come in, come in. Everyone's in the backyard. I followed her through the house to the spacious backyard where an elegantly set table was arranged. There were about 15 people, most of them strangers to me. I figured they were Jessica's friends or Daniel's coworkers. And then I saw her. My granddaughter Isabel, sitting in a corner staring at her phone. At 16, she was the spitting image of my Amelia. The same jet black hair, the same expressive eyes. When she saw me, her face lit up. Grandpa! She jumped up and ran to me, hugging me tightly. I didn't know you were coming. Your dad invited me, sweetheart. I returned the hug, feeling my heart swell. I've missed you so much. I've missed you too. She lowered her voice. They don't let me come visit you anymore. Before I could ask why, Daniel approached with a drink in his hand. Dad, good, you're here. Did you bring what I asked you for? Isabel looked at us curiously and walked away when her father gave her a slight nod. Daniel, I haven't signed those papers. We need to talk more about this. His smile froze. Now's not the time, Dad. We have guests. We'll talk after lunch. The party unfolded with that disguised coldness that marks gatherings where no one really wants to be. I sat next to Isabel, who told me in whispers about her school, her friends, and her dream of studying literature, just like I had. Your grandpa was the best professor at the university, I told her with pride. Students still come to the bookstore looking for my recommendations. I wish I could help you there on weekends, she said with longing in her voice. As we talked, I noticed Daniel and Jessica watching us, our exchange clearly annoying them. After dessert, Daniel stood up and got everyone's attention by gently tapping his glass with a spoon. Dear friends and family, thank you for joining us on this special day. He glanced at Jessica with a smile. But besides celebrating my beautiful wife's birthday, we have another reason to toast. He looked directly at me, a chill ran down my spine. My father has decided to finally retire completely and will be signing over the administration of his assets to us. At last, he'll be able to rest as he deserves. The guests applauded as I sat there frozen. What was he doing? I started to say, but he cut me off, approaching with the same documents he'd brought to my house. We can sign it right here, Dad. Everyone can be a witness to this moment. The tension was palpable. All eyes were on me. Even Isabel looked at me with confusion. I'm not going to sign that, son. My voice was firmer than I expected. Daniel's face changed. What did you say? I said I'm not going to sign it. It's my house, my bookstore, my life. I don't need anyone to manage them for me. Jessica stepped forward with her tense arm up. Mr. Montgomery, don't it be like that. It's for your own good. At your age, at my age, I can still make my own decisions, Jessica. And my answer is no. Daniel slammed the papers on the table, his face red with anger. You've always been a selfish man, Dad. Always thinking only of yourself. Me, selfish? Who took care of you alone after your mother died? Who paid for your college education by working 2 jobs? The guests began to shift uncomfortably. Some quietly moved inside the house. That's enough, Daniel hit the table. You're ruining Jessica's party. You ruined it when you planned this public ambush. I stood up. I'm going home. I took 2 steps and felt Daniel's hand grab my arm, hard. I turned to face him, and then it happened. His fist connected squarely with my face. The blow sent me staggering, and I fell to the ground. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth as Isabel's screams echoed in my ears. Grandpa, Dad, what have you done? Daniel looked down at me, breathing heavily, his fists clenched. Jessica held his arm, not to stop him, but to keep him from continuing. That's enough, Dan, she muttered. There are witnesses. Isabel knelt beside me, crying, trying to help me up. My granddaughter, my sweet girl, dabbing the blood from my lip with a napkin. Don't worry, Izzy, I said softly. I'm fine. I got up with difficulty, refusing the hand one of the guests offered me. I looked my son in the eyes. I never thought you would stoop to this, Daniel. Your mother would be ashamed. His eyes flashed with renewed fury, but Jessica held him back firmly. You should probably go, Dad, he said in a controlled voice. You've caused enough of a scene. Let me come with you, Grandpa, Isabel pleaded. No, Jessica intervened. You're staying here, Isabel. Your grandfather can leave on his own. I walked toward the exit with all the dignity I could muster, feeling everyone's eyes on me. Before I walked out the door, I looked one last time at my granddaughter, who was crying silently, and at my son, who had his back to me. I didn't know then that this was just the beginning of my ordeal, that the worst was yet to come, that the punch was merely a prelude to the betrayal that awaited me. I returned to my house with a broken heart and a bruised face, never imagining that soon I wouldn't even have a home to return to. In my mind, Amelia's words before she died echoed. Be careful of those who smile at you while counting your assets, Gabriel. True love doesn't carry a calculator. How right my Amelia was. How right. 3 days passed since the incident at Daniel's house. My lip was still swollen and a yellowish bruise decorated my right cheek. I hadn't left the house, not even to open the bookstore. I felt humiliated, betrayed by my own blood. The phone had rung several times, but I didn't answer. I didn't have the strength to talk to anyone. I was making coffee when I heard a soft knock at the door, not the doorbell. Cautiously, I looked through the peephole. It was Isabel. My granddaughter was standing there with her school backpack on, a worried look on her young face. I opened it immediately. Izzy, what are you doing here? I hugged her as she rushed inside. I came to see you, Grandpa. I was so worried. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw my bruised face. You weren't answering the phone and you shouldn't have come alone. Your parents, they don't know I'm here. She dropped her backpack. I'm supposed to be studying at a friend's house, but I needed to see you, to know you were okay. I led her to the kitchen and offered her a glass of juice. She sat in the same chair she used to sit in as a little girl when I would read her stories while Amelia cooked. What Dad did was horrible, she said suddenly. I've never seen him like that. I sighed deeply. People change, Izzy. Sometimes money, ambition. It's not just that. She lowered her voice as if afraid of being overheard. Mom and Dad are in trouble. Big trouble. What kind of trouble? Financial, I think. I heard Mom on the phone, something about mortgages, unpaid loans. She mentioned that if they didn't get money fast, they could lose everything. A chill ran down my spine. Now I understood the sudden interest in my properties. They wanted me to sign those papers to pay off their debts with my assets. Isabel nodded slowly. I think so. Mom has been selling her jewelry. The cleaning lady doesn't come anymore. And I heard the credit card was declined when they tried to pay for my tuition for next semester. I rubbed the bridge of my nose, trying to process it all. My son, who had always been ambitious but never dishonest, was now willing to strip me of everything to save his lifestyle. Grandpa, I'm scared, Isabel's voice brought me back to the present. Mom says horrible things about you when she thinks I'm not listening, that you're a stubborn, selfish old man who could help them but would rather watch them sink. Jessica has never liked me, sweetheart. Ever since she married your father, she's tried to pull him away from me. But this is different. They're desperate. Isabel took my hand. I'm scared of what they might do. I squeezed her hand, trying to reassure her. Don't worry, no one will force me to do something I don't want to. This house is where your grandmother and I raised your father, where we keep our memories. I won't sell it to pay for debts they ran up by living beyond their means. The doorbell rang, startling us both. This time it was insistent. Are you expecting someone? My granddaughter asked, suddenly nervous. No, I stood up. Stay here. I went to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Daniel and Jessica, accompanied by a man I didn't recognize in a suit, holding a briefcase. Dad, I know you're in there. Open the door. Daniel's voice was authoritarian. I took a deep breath and opened it. What do you want, Daniel? His gaze hardened when he saw my bruised face. He showed no remorse, only discomfort. We've come to talk. This is Mr. Morales, our attorney. The man extended a hand, which I didn't take. Mr. Montgomery, I am your son's legal representative. We've come to discuss an important matter. I have nothing to discuss with you. I tried to close the door, but Daniel blocked it with his foot. It's about your health, Dad. We're worried. His falsely conciliatory tone turned my stomach. My health? Since when are you concerned about my health? after punching me in front of all your friends. About that, Daniel began, but Jessica cut him off. Mr. Montgomery, we understand you're upset, but your behavior the other day only confirms our concerns. You're not well. You need help. The only help I need is for you to leave me in peace. Dad, Daniel's voice softened. I've spoken with the specialist. Your erratic behavior, your forgetfulness, your aggression, they're signs of senile dementia. I was speechless. Senile dementia? Me? What are you talking about? I don't have any mental problems. That's part of the illness, sir, the supposed lawyer interjected. Denial, irritability, your son only wants what's best for you. What's best for me or for him and his debts? I stared at them. Isabel told me everything. The three of them exchanged surprised glances. Isabel, what does she have to do with this? Jessica asked in a tense voice. Before I could answer, Isabel appeared behind me. I'm here, Mom. I came to see how Grandpa was after what you did to him. Jessica's face twisted into a mask of rage. How dare you come here without our permission? We expressly forbade you from seeing your grandfather. Why? Isabel challenged. Because I ruin your plans? Because I tell him the truth about what I hear at home? Daniel grabbed Isabel by the arm. We're leaving now. You're grounded. Let her go. I stepped between them. Don't you lay a hand on her. She's my daughter, and I decide what I do with her. Daniel gritted his teeth. You may be her father, but that doesn't give you the right to decide about me or my property. The lawyer cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the situation. Mr. Montgomery, I have a court order here for a mandatory psychiatric evaluation. Your son has presented evidence of your mental decline, and the judge has deemed this intervention necessary. He handed me a document, which I took with trembling hands. It was indeed a court order requiring me to submit to an evaluation with a court-appointed psychiatrist. This is an abuse, I muttered. A trap. It's for your own good, Dad, Daniel tried to sound reasonable again. If you're really fine like you say, the evaluation will confirm it, and there will be no problem. But if you need help, you'll get it. I looked at my son, at this stranger he had become. And in the meantime, what happens to my bookstore? My house? I'll take care of everything temporarily until your mental capacity is determined. He smiled faintly. It's what's best for everyone. I was cornered. If I refused the evaluation, it would only strengthen their argument that I wasn't in my right mind. All right, I said finally, I'll submit to this evaluation, but I want my own doctor present. The judge has already appointed the specialist, Mr. Montgomery. The lawyer intervened. It's not possible to change that. And when would this evaluation be? Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Daniel checked his watch as if he were in a hurry. We'll pick you up. I can go by myself. I still know how to call a cab. We insist on accompanying you, Mr. Montgomery, Jessica said with her fake kindness. It's the least we can do. Isabel looked at me with pleading eyes. I knew what she was thinking. It was a trap, but I saw no way to avoid it without making my situation worse. Fine, I finally relented. Tomorrow at 10. And as for you, young lady, Jessica took Isabel by the arm. We're leaving now. We'll talk about your disobedience at home. I don't want to go, Isabel protested. I want to stay with Grandpa. It's not negotiable. Daniel's voice left no room for argument. Say goodbye. Isabel hugged me tightly. Be careful, Grandpa, she whispered in my ear. Don't trust them. Not even the doctor. I hugged her back, a lump forming in my throat. I'll be fine, sweetheart. Don't you worry about me. The three of them left, practically dragging Isabel with them. I stood at the door watching them drive away in Daniel's luxury car, a car I now understood he probably couldn't afford. I closed the door and leaned against it, feeling my legs give way. I needed help, but who could I turn to? Most of my friends had passed away or were as old as I was. My sister had lived across the country for decades, and we barely kept in touch. Then I remembered Thaddeus Tad Quinn, my old college friend, who was now a respected family law attorney. We hadn't spoken in months, but if anyone could help me, it was him. I found his number and dialed with shaking fingers. After 3 rings, his familiar voice answered. Quinn. Tad, it's Gabe. Gabriel Montgomery. Gabe, what a surprise. How are you, old friend? Not so good, Tad. I need your help. It's urgent. There was a short pause. Of course. Whatever you need, what's wrong? I'd rather not talk over the phone. Could you come to my house? Today, if possible. I'm in the middle of a case, but I can stop by around 6. Is it serious? More than you can imagine. I think my son is trying to have me declared incompetent to get his hands on my property. Another longer silence. I'll be there at 6 on the dot. Don't open the door for anyone else until then. Thanks, Tad. I hung up and looked at the clock. It was 2 p.m. I had 4 hours to prepare, to think, to gather any information that might be useful. I went to my study and started looking for documents. The deed to the house, the bookstore's papers, bank statements, medical records proving my good health. As I organized everything, I couldn't stop thinking about Isabel. My poor granddaughter, caught in the middle of this. I feared what Daniel and Jessica might do to her for warning me. At 6 p.m. sharp, the doorbell rang. It was Tad, punctual as always. When I opened the door, his expression changed as he saw my bruised face. My God, Gabe, what happened to you? My son hit me 3 days ago at his wife's birthday party, in front of all their guests. Tad came in and closed the door behind him, his face a mixture of indignation and concern. Tell me everything, from the beginning. For the next hour, I recounted everything. Daniel's initial visit with the documents, the party, the punch, and finally, today's visit with the lawyer and the court order. Tad took notes and reviewed the documents I showed him, especially the psychiatric evaluation order. I don't like this one bit, Gabe. They've moved very fast. Too fast for this to be legitimate. What can I do? For now, you have to go to the evaluation. If you refuse, you'll only strengthen their case. But you won't go alone. Tad looked at me intently. I'll accompany you as your legal counsel. They can't stop me. What if the doctor is bullied? Isabel warned me not to trust him. Your granddaughter is a smart girl. Tad smiled faintly. It's possible they found a compliant doctor, but I know several psychiatrists who could provide an independent second opinion. The problem is, we need time. Time is what I don't have. The evaluation is tomorrow. And I'll be here at 9:30 a.m. to go with you, Tad said, putting his notes away. Don't sign anything. I don't care what they say, not a single piece of paper without me reviewing it first. I nodded, feeling for the first time in days that I wasn't completely alone in this battle. Thank you, Tad. I don't know how I can repay you. We've been friends for 50 years, Gabe. There's nothing to repay. He stood to leave. Keep your phone close. If anything happens before tomorrow, call me immediately. I don't care what time it is. After Tad left, I felt a little better. At least now I had an ally, someone to help me fight this injustice. That night, as I was trying to fall asleep, the phone rang. It was almost midnight. I answered, my heart pounding. Hello? Grandpa? It's me. Isabel's voice was a frightened whisper. Izzy, what's wrong? Are you okay? I heard Mom and Dad talking. They're not taking you for an evaluation tomorrow. What do you mean? They're taking you straight to an asylum, Grandpa. They've already made arrangements with the director of that place. They're going to commit you by force. I felt the air leave my lungs. Are you sure about what you heard? Completely. Mom said it was the only way to ensure they'd get control of your assets quickly. That once you were inside, it would be easy to get a doctor there to certify you as incompetent. My God. You have to leave, Grandpa. Hide somewhere. Don't let them take you. I can't run away, Izzy. That would only make things worse. It would make it look like I really am losing my mind. But Grandpa, don't worry. I've already spoken to a lawyer, an old friend. He's coming with me tomorrow. There was a silence on the other end. It won't be enough. I heard Dad say they'll use force if necessary. A shiver ran down my spine. Force? He mentioned something about orderlies being ready for any resistance. Just then I heard a noise on her end, like a door opening. I have to go, Isabel whispered hurriedly. I love you, Grandpa. Please be careful. The line went dead, leaving me in a terrifying silence. I stared at the phone, feeling my world crumble. I immediately called Tad, who answered in a sleepy voice. Gabe, what is it? I quickly told him what Isabel had said. His voice instantly became alert and professional. Damn them. This is completely illegal. Gabe, listen to me carefully. I'm on my way over right now. Don't open the door for anyone else, and pack a small bag with the essentials. If they try something like this, we need to be ready. What can we do? If they have a court order, the order is for an evaluation, not an involuntary commitment. That would require a completely different legal procedure. They're trying to bypass all the protocols. I could hear rustling on his end like he was getting dressed. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Hang tight. While I waited, I packed a small bag with clothes, medication, and my most important documents. I also took the framed photo of Amelia that I always kept on my nightstand. If they were going to take me from my home by force, at least I would bring the most valuable thing with me. The doorbell rang exactly 28 minutes later. It was Tian, his hair disheveled, a look of determination on his face. "I called a judge I'm friends with," he said as he came in. "He's fast-tracking an emergency protection order, but it won't be ready until morning. By then it could be too late." "I know, that's why I've thought of another solution." Tad looked at me seriously. "We need to document everything. If they try to take you by force, we need proof." He pulled a small camera from his briefcase. "We'll set this up here, where it can record the entrance. And this is a voice recorder." He handed me a device the size of a lighter. "Keep it in your pocket at all times." We spent the next hour preparing, setting a plan for every possible scenario. Tad insisted on spending the night on my sofa to be there when Daniel and Jessica arrived. However, neither of us imagined they wouldn't wait until morning. At 3:42 a.m., a loud pounding on the door woke us both. Tad, who had fallen asleep on the sofa, shot to his feet. I came out of my room, terrified but determined to face whatever was coming. "Police, open the door!" Tad and I looked at each other. We hadn't planned for this. "Just a moment," Tad shouted, signaling for me to activate the camera and the recorder. When we opened the door, we were met by two police officers, Daniel, Jessica, and two large men in white uniforms. Orderlies, just as Isabel had said. "What is the meaning of this?" Tad demanded. "Do you know what time it is?" One of the officers stepped forward. "We have an order to transfer Mr. Gabriel Montgomery to a medical facility for evaluation and care." "That's false," Tad interjected. "The court order you have is for a scheduled evaluation at 10 a.m., not a forced removal in the middle of the night." "Circumstances have changed," Daniel said, stepping forward. "We received a call from a neighbor reporting that my father was having a violent episode, breaking things and screaming." "That's a lie," I exclaimed. "I was asleep until you arrived." "Officers," Tad addressed them, "I am Thaddeus Quinn, Mr. Montgomery's attorney. This action is completely illegal. There is no evidence of a violent episode. As you can see, the house is in perfect order, and my client was sleeping peacefully." The officers seemed to hesitate, looking back and forth between Daniel and Tad. "We have the order signed by Judge Suarez," one of them insisted. "May I see it?" Tad requested. The officer handed him a paper, which Tad examined carefully under the porch light. "This order is forged," he declared finally. "I know Judge Suarez's signature, and this is not it. Furthermore, the court seal is blurry, likely photocopied from another document." "That's ridiculous," Jessica exclaimed. "This man is obstructing a legal procedure. Arrest him." "Ma'am, we can't arrest someone for questioning a document's validity," the officer replied, growing more uncomfortable with the situation. "Officer," Tad said calmly, "I suggest you verify this order's authenticity by calling the courthouse directly. I understand that's impossible at this hour, so the proper course of action would be to postpone any action until morning when it can be confirmed." The younger officer nodded. "He's right. We can't proceed if there are doubts about the order's validity." Daniel stepped forward, furious. "My father needs help now. He's a danger to himself." "Mr. Montgomery," the officer addressed me, "do you feel you are in danger or have any thoughts of harming yourself?" "Not at all, officer. The only danger I feel comes from my son, who punched me 3 days ago, as you can see from the bruises on my face." The officers exchanged glances. "Look," Tad pulled out his business card. "I am an attorney with over 40 years of experience. I assure you this situation will be thoroughly investigated. If you proceed with this forced removal based on a potentially forged order, you will be making a grave mistake that could cost you your badges." That seemed to finally convince them. "Sorry, sir," the older officer said to Daniel. We cannot proceed until we verify the order's authenticity. You will have to wait until morning and go through the proper channels." "This is outrageous." Daniel slammed his fist against the wall. "He's my father. I have the right to decide what's best for him." "No, you don't," I responded firmly. "I am an adult with all my mental faculties, and you know it perfectly well. This isn't about my well-being. It's about my money, my house, my bookstore." The orderlies, who had remained silent, looked at each other uncomfortably. "They told us it was a case of advanced dementia," one of them muttered. "This man seems perfectly lucid." "Of course I'm lucid," I replied. "This is all a sham orchestrated by my son and his wife to seize my assets and pay off their debts." Daniel's eyes were filled with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Dad. I will get that order, and I will get you out of here, whether you like it or not." "That's enough," the officer intervened. "Everyone out of here. Mr. Montgomery, lock your door. If anyone tries to enter without authorization, call 911 immediately." Daniel, Jessica, and the orderlies left, but not before shooting us furious glares. The officers stayed a moment longer. "Sir," the younger one said to me, "I'd recommend you seek legal help first thing in the morning to protect yourself from these situations." "He already has it," Tad replied, putting a hand on my shoulder. "I will personally ensure that something like this does not happen again." When everyone was gone and we had locked the door, I collapsed onto the sofa, trembling. "I can't believe they would go this far," I muttered. "Gabe, this is more serious than we thought," Tad said. "They're desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. We can't stay here waiting for their next move. What do you suggest?" "At dawn, we're going straight to the courthouse with tonight's recordings. We'll file for that emergency protection order, and in the meantime, you should consider staying somewhere they can't easily find you." "Run from my own home? Hide like a criminal?" "Not like a criminal, Gabe. Like someone who needs to protect himself." Tad looked at me intently. "Daniel will be back, and next time he might not fail." I looked around the house where I had lived nearly my entire adult life, where I had raised my son, where I had loved my wife until her last day. The thought of abandoning it broke my heart, but Tad was right. I wasn't safe here. "All right," I said finally, "but first I need to know that Isabel will be okay. I'm worried what they might do to her for warning me." "We'll take care of that too," Tad checked his watch. "It's almost 5 a.m. Try to get some rest. I'll keep watch. We move at 8. I headed to my room knowing I wouldn't be able to sleep. My world had fallen apart in a matter of days, and I knew the worst was yet to come. My own son, my blood, willing to lock me in an asylum to seize everything I had worked for over decades. And in the midst of this darkness, all I could think about was Isabel, my sweet granddaughter, trapped in the clutches of parents capable of such a betrayal. What I didn't know then was that the real horror was just beginning. That despite all our precautions, Daniel would find a way to carry out his threat, and that soon I would be deprived not only of my freedom, but of my dignity. But I also didn't know that in my darkest moment, I would find the strength to fight back and reclaim everything they tried to take from me. Because, as Amelia used to say, the most dangerous wolf isn't the strongest, but the one that has been cornered with no way out. And I, without a doubt, was cornered. At 7:15 in the morning, the police arrived at my house with a court order to take me to Serene Valley, a mental institution. Daniel and Jessica were with them, along with the center's director, Dr. Navarro. "We have a court order for the immediate transfer of Mr. Gabriel Montgomery," an officer announced. Despite Tad's protests, the order was valid. I grabbed my small bag, adding the photo of Amelia, and was taken by ambulance to Serene Valley. It was an elegant complex, but the high fences and guards at the gate told a different story. They processed me like a criminal. Photos, fingerprints, and an identification bracelet. They assigned me a small but clean room. That afternoon, an older woman knocked on my door. "I'm Carmen Fuentes, your neighbor. Family?" she asked. "My son and his wife. They want my properties." "It's the most common story here." She nodded toward the director's office. "Dr. Navarro has a deal with the families. They pay, and he makes sure we never get out." "That's illegal. Everything is documented to look legitimate. And if you complain, they up your medication until you're a zombie." In the dining hall, I met Mr. Valdez, a former judge also committed by his daughter, and Mrs. Montero, a teacher so heavily medicated she barely reacted. What they do here borders on criminal, Valdez warned me. A young assistant named Miguel secretly handed me a cell phone. My grandmother was in a place like this. They kept her drugged while her house and savings disappeared. I called Tad, who was direct. We need proof, Gabe. Without evidence, it's your word against professional doctors. The next day, Carmen gave me a USB drive, copies of internal files, forged diagnoses, altered records, and payments from families, including your son's. I hid it in the frame of Amelia's photograph. That night, Navarro ordered my medication to be given in liquid form, impossible to spit out. Fortunately, Miguel provided me with an emetic, allowing me to purge it from my system. Tad was coming tomorrow. My plan was to give him the USB drive. It was my only hope to escape and get my life back, and my only way to report this. A surprise inspection? Some higher authority? There is, Valdez nodded, but you need solid evidence, and that's what we can't get from inside here. Our communications are monitored, our complaints are dismissed as paranoid delusions, and our few outside allies are systematically driven away. As we spoke, I noticed a nurse approaching with a medication cart, going from table to table. Here comes your first dose, Carmen murmured. Remember what I told you. The nurse reached our table with a professional smile. Mr. Montgomery, your medication for tonight. She handed me a small plastic cup with a white pill and another with water. What is it exactly? I asked. Alprazolam, 0.5 milligrams, to help you rest. I took the cups, aware of the attentive gazes of both my table mates and the staff. I brought the pill to my mouth, took a sip of water, and with a movement I hoped was discreet, held the pill under my tongue instead of swallowing. Very good, the nurse smiled, watching me closely. Make sure you finish your dinner. When she walked away, I waited a few moments before discreetly spitting the pill into my napkin, which I then pocketed. Well done, Carmen whispered, but you'll have to be more careful. Sometimes they check under your tongue. What would that pill have done? Drowsiness, confusion, difficulty concentrating, Valdez explained. And over time, dependency. It's part of the strategy. Keep you medicated enough to appear confused during evaluations and visits, reinforcing their initial diagnosis. After dinner, we were led back to our rooms. Lights out was at 10 p.m. Back in my room, overwhelmed, I thought of Isabel. Would she know where I was? I pulled out a worn copy of 100 Years of Solitude, Amelia's favorite. Tucked inside was a small notebook and pencil. I started writing, documenting everything. At 10, the main lights shut off. A soft knock came at my door. It was Miguel, the young assistant. Mr. Montgomery, he whispered, I have something for you. He handed me an old basic cell phone. What is this? A burner phone. Carmen asked me to give it to you. She said you'd need to contact your lawyer. Why are you helping us? My grandmother was in a place like this, he said, looking down the hall. When she died, we found out they had kept her drugged for months while her house and savings disappeared. I work here to help who I can. Use the phone carefully and hide it well. Thank you, Miguel. Just promise me that when you get out, you'll do something to stop what happens in this place. I promise. I went into the bathroom and called Tad. Gabe, how did you get a phone? It's complicated. Listen, this place is a prison. They're colluding with families to keep us locked up. I suspected as much. Tad's voice was tense. I'm working to get you out, but Daniel's lawyers are fighting me. They have medical reports saying you're in serious decline. They're forged. The director here, Navarro, is in on it. We need proof, Gabe. Recordings, documents, anything. I'll try to get something. Have you heard from Isabel? There was a pause. It's difficult. They have her on lockdown. I spoke to her briefly. They told her you're at a health retreat on doctor's orders. Lies, like everything else. Gabe, there's more. Daniel and Jessica have serious financial problems. Izzy told me they're drowning in debt. That's why they want your property. That explains the urgency. I have a hearing the day after tomorrow with Judge Montano. He's incorruptible. If we can cast even a shadow of a doubt, he might order an independent evaluation. The day after tomorrow might be too late. They're medicating people here to keep them confused. Resist, my friend. Don't take any medication if you can avoid it. I'll visit after the hearing. The next day, I was subjected to cognitive tests with a young psychologist, Ramirez. I answered everything perfectly, to his visible frustration. Your results are interesting, he said. They're normal, even above average. But your family reports hostile behavior. It's not hostility, it's a fact. They tried to get me to sign over my properties. When I refused, my son hit me. He scribbled in his notebook. Perhaps you are misinterpreting your son's intentions. Doctor, I am perfectly capable of managing my own affairs. My son, on the other hand, is in debt. My granddaughter told me. The session continued like that, with him trying to get me to admit some confusion, and me refuting him with clear facts. Later, Carmen found me into the hallway. They suspect something, she said grimly. They saw us talking. They threatened to move me to the intensive care wing if I keep agitating new residents. She pulled a small object from her pocket. This is why I came. It's a USB drive. Valdez got it from a clerk who owed him a favor. I took it with trembling hands. What's on it? Copies of internal files, instructions from Navarro on how to diagnose patients, medication records that don't match diagnoses, and a list of special payments from families, including your son's. Daniel paid to keep me here. A considerable sum. It's all there. You have to be careful if they find this on you. I hid the drive inside the frame of Amelia's photograph. It was the one place they wouldn't think to look. That evening, I called Tad. I have it, I told him. A USB drive with internal documents. Proof of everything. That's exactly what we need. Tad sounded hopeful for the first time. How will you get it to me? Visits are supervised. We brainstormed. The hug, Tad said finally. When we greet and say goodbye, we'll hug. You can pass it to me then. It's risky. It's a risk we have to take. There's more, Gabe. Daniel has started the process to sell your house and the bookstore. Judge Suarez has granted him temporary guardianship of your assets. My blood ran cold. He can't do that. He can, and he did. It's all provisional, but we need to act fast. The hearing is the day after tomorrow. I'll come see you right after. The next day, Dr. Navarro called me into his office. Mr. Montgomery, he began, his tone cold. Your cognitive tests are normal, but your paranoia about your family is concerning. It's not paranoia when it's true, doctor. We've also noticed you aren't taking your medication. We've found pills in your room. It was a lie. I had been careful. Starting tonight, your medication will be administered in liquid form to make it easier for you to take. His smile was triumphant. I was defeated. A liquid dose was impossible to fake. That night, the nurse came with a small cup of clear liquid. Drink it all, please. Doctor's orders. I had no choice but to swallow. The effects began almost immediately. A slight dizziness, a heaviness in my limbs. A soft knock came. It was Miguel. Carmen told me about the liquid medication. I brought this. He handed me a small vial. It's an emetic. It will make you vomit, but it will clear most of the drug from your system. Thank you, Miguel. I don't know how to repay you. You'll repay me when you get out and expose this place. One more thing. They changed my shift for tomorrow. I won't be on duty during visits. They might suspect me. Be careful with the USB. The next 20 minutes were awful, but when it was over, I felt clearer. I rinsed my face and fell into a restless sleep, knowing tomorrow was the day. Either I would get the USB to Tad, or I would spend the rest of my days fading away in Serene Valley. The following day, Tad arrived for the visit. As expected, Daniel and Dr. Navarro sat with us in the common room. Gabe, it's good to see you, Tad said, standing to greet me with open arms. We embraced, and in that brief tense moment, I slipped him the photo frame from under my sweater into the inner pocket of his suit jacket. I felt him take it. He pulled back, his expression unchanged. You have to go with Daniel now, Tad whispered in my ear. Captain Vega is ready. At Daniel's house, I was surprised to find Isabel. Shortly after we arrived, the police knocked on the door. Daniel Montgomery, you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, and felony elder abuse, announced Captain Vega as Tad presented the damning evidence from the USB drive. 3 months later, Daniel was serving a reduced sentence, a leniency I had requested to protect Isabel from the trauma of a long and public trial. My granddaughter now lived with me. Serene Valley had been shut down, and I had my house and bookstore back. Grandma would be happy to see us together, Isabel said one evening as we looked at the roses in the garden. She always said that family isn't just who shares your blood, I replied, putting my arm around her. It's who shares your heart. Daniel had tried to take everything from me, but in the end, I had the last word. If my story touched you, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to Whispers of Experience. Your support encourages me to keep sharing the moments that have shaped my life. Have you experienced something similar, or do you know someone who has? Tell me in the comments. Your story could help others going through the same thing.